The temptations of Jesus are a reflection of every Christian's struggle. The battle we have to front against the threefold baits by which the devil lures us to sin. I call them the three disordered desires of man. These threefold lusts are what St. John outlines in his second letter, chapter 2, verse 16, where he writes that they are the lust of the flesh, pleasure, the lust of the eyes, possession, and the lust of ego, pride. So this exactly has been the tempter's tactics since the beginnings and still is in this age. Now let us interrogate the encounter between the devil and Jesus alongside the narrative of the fall of our first parents, Eve and Adam. First, the woman, as we read in Genesis chapter 3 verse 6, she saw that the tree was good for food. So she was lured to the gratification of the flesh and the satisfaction of the body, even when it is forbidden, even when it was clearly stated that it would be harmful, it would wound their relationship with God. The serpent then throws the same card at Jesus, the new Adam, the lure to satisfy or gratiate the thirst of the flesh, knowing full well that he was hungry, having fasted 40 days, he asks him to turn stone into bread. Secondly, in the same Genesis 3:6, the woman saw that the tree was pleasing to the eyes. This implicates that delight and attraction, the hunger to possess, begins from the eyes, the unbridled quest to own, to acquire everything and anything possible. This again, Satan throws at Jesus, appealing to his lust for possession, showing him the kingdoms and the glories of the world, tempting his desire to possess, but with a caveat: he must bow and worship him. Of course, the devil does not give without taking, but Jesus conquers. Thirdly, the lust of the ego. Scripture also tells us that the woman saw that the tree was good and that it was desirable for obtaining wisdom. Hence, she took the fruit and ate of it. This temptation hits at the core of man's craving for vainglory, unchecked authority like Eve and Adam. It tells loudly of our desire to inflate our sense of self-worth, the urge for power and prestige, to be like the Creator. This lust crops from a bloated estimation of oneself. Jesus also was tempted with this hook to prove that he was powerful, that he was truly divine and capable of signs and wonders. He should demonstrate his authority as God's Son over the angels. Notice also that the devil would stop at nothing just to get you to fall, including quoting scriptures. Well, but that is a subject for another day. But to more vividly put forth this lesson on the triple lusts of man, think of the story of David, Uriah's wife, and Uriah in 2 Samuel chapter 11. We are told that David was strolling and his eyes met a beautiful woman, someone else's wife. His eyes triggered his appetite for acquisition and possession. His flesh triggered his urge for pleasure and satisfaction, and eventually his ego reminded him that he is king. He had the power which can be invoked to take the woman in and kill her husband. Now let us pay attention here. Adam was tempted in the garden, and upon falling, he was expelled from the paradise into the desert, and with him his descendants. Jesus, on the other hand, the new Adam, goes into the desert, gets fortified, gets tempted by the same Satan, over whom he triumphs, in order to lead us, his followers and brothers, out of the desert and back into the paradise. In conquering the devil, Jesus mortified the threefold human spiritual disorders: the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and lust of the ego, pleasure, possession, and pride. This is why the Catechism of the Church teaches in paragraphs 538 to 540 that Lenten season avails us a 40 days desert experience where we unite ourselves with Christ and enter into discipleship to be schooled by Him and armed with the weapons of prayer, fasting, and charity, if we are ever to conquer the tempting serpent like Jesus did, or be conquered by Him like Eve and Adam. And this is not arbitrary, because these three pillars of Lent are the exact antidote to the poison of the three lusts, except we do not employ them well. Prayer, almsgiving, and fasting are remedial to the lusts of the eyes, the flesh, and the ego. Fasting, for instance. Fasting tames the fleshly appetite. Abstinence from bodily satisfaction, which is also known as mortification, has a strong impact on subduing the raging urges we find difficult to conquer. Fasting undoubtedly helps us to overcome the disordered desires for the pleasures of the flesh. Secondly, almsgiving. By taking upon the obligation and the religious duty to share our possessions with the less fortunate, we reorientate our minds in a manner that douses the burning desire for acquiring and possessing. Charity, which also is a strong pillar of Islam, known as zakat, imposes on us a deeper sense of contentment for what is sufficient and of consideration for others. Almsgiving teaches us the ideal of giving over getting, to dispose rather than to retain. Hence, the lust of the eyes is tamed. Finally, prayer, according to St. Augustine, is a poison to pride. Prayer takes us on our knees in humility and in surrendering acknowledgement that there is a God, a creator, a sovereign above us. The one who prays is able to, by so doing, deflate his exaggerated self-esteem, for in praying, he expresses dependence and submission to the infinite. I hope you have learned a thing or two so far. If you did, be kind enough to share your thoughts in the comment section and invite others to subscribe to the channel. God bless you.